Should start doing that.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here at Heartletics.com. I got my man Mark, I got my man Jimmy, and we're ready to provide nothing but value for you guys. So as you guys know, a little background about Heartletics. It's all about helping men, right? And people just create the best versions of themselves, right? Become better leaders, better, support systems, motivators, but most importantly, it all stems from helping them really figuring out where are they trying to get to in life. I always say it like this is like, we're always progressing here at Heartletics. We used to be known as, man, we got really good personalized meal plans, really good personalized workouts. We kick butt. We can help anybody lose anywhere from 20 to 50 pounds of fat in 90 days. But that's not what Heartletics is anymore. There's been a big shift, I would say, probably the last 3 months. And it's been mainly about helping guys mentally become the best version of themselves. And now we're dealing with another shift. We're helping out guys on all levels, not just physically, not just mentally, and now emotionally. And so what me and the other coaches figured that for today's episode might be valuable is kind of share with you guys just some awesome stories about one, what is it like from other guys, going through this journey, and what has kind of helped them really just progress from where they are today to where they're trying to get to, but also two, some tips and tricks on how you can also do the same. So with further ado, let's dive right into this. I'm going to come last because mine's kind of like a funny story. But Mark, I know you want to share a little bit about the 7 layers, right? And really identifying, right, that 2.0 version of yourself. Why don't you kind of share with everybody a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, part of the process, right, of becoming the 2.0 version of yourself is deciding what that is, right? You need to kind of define what you're trying to accomplish before you move towards it. So I think a lot of that has to do with like identifying your goals and why those goals are important to you. Not just a goal, but why this goal. So one of the exercises I had done at one point was something called the 7 levels of why. And basically, once you have a goal, right, you take that goal and you say, okay, why is this my goal? Why is this something I want to accomplish? And you're going to come up with an answer. But then that's like just level 1. Then it's like, well, why is this my answer? And you're going to come up with the next level. And you're going to do this 7 times, right? It's like a 7-layer dip, right? So that when you get to that bottom, you've really kind of dug deep to figure out what it is that's making you want to accomplish this. And that's going to help you, A, progress on the path, but B, also really get to the kind of the core limiting beliefs, right? What is it that you're trying to sort of conquer with that goal? And, to speak, a little bit somewhat personally, for me, a lot of this was at the time when I was really kind of, moving forward, in my role here at Heartletics. And, I kind of used that as my goal, right? To be kind of the best coach, the best, success I could be at this. And as I dug down into those layers, what I really found at the bottom was like, yes, I've had careers and success in careers, but they weren't my passion. They were means to an end. And this was really important to me because I feel so passionate about it that this was like my thing to be successful at what I'm passionate about, to combine those 2 worlds finally, after a very long time. And so I think that, that really propelled me forward when I kind of had that realization. But I also think, we've seen some, that's kind of my story, but we've seen some amazing examples, from our clients. I mean, if you look at,
Let's pause real quick though before we get to that. So let's put it into terms of like what you learned about that 7-layer dip in terms of losing weight, right? So like as you guys know, right, if somebody wants to apply for coaching, they got to go through one of us, right? Like it's closed doors, right? A community, right, that's blocked off, and we got to almost kind of qualify to make sure it's a good fit. Because one, we don't want to poison the well, right? Like we want to make sure that our wolf pack is united, we're strong, but at the same time, we want to make sure that somebody's in it for the right reasons. A lot of guys, right? Almost anybody that applies for coaching, they want to lose weight, right? Everybody wants to lose weight. But then what you really start asking on these qualification calls is, well, why? right? And so when you have a deep rooted why, it really helps you out, because I'll put it to you like this. If let's say I want to lose 15 pounds, right? That might sound good, right? That might sound like that's a good goal to have. But let's face the facts here, people. What happens when life throws you a curveball? That losing 15 pounds is so surface level, you might, fall off your nutrition plan. You might skip some workouts. You might not, be disciplined and working on your mindset. And so it's one of those things where it's like, well, why do you want to lose 15 pounds? Well, actually, I want to have more energy. Okay, well, hey, that's a good, right? That's the next layer, right? Maybe level two. And then it's like, okay, so why do you want to have more energy? Well, really thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, I want to make sure I have more energy to play with my kids. It's like, okay, so you want to lose 15 pounds to have more energy to play with your kids more. Well, why do you want to play with your kids more? Well, I realize here that when I come home from work, I have no energy. My kids are young, and it's just like, they're like, daddy, like, get off the couch, like, just play with me, have some quality time. And it's just like, I'm too tired. Right. And so I feel like I'm missing out on creating those memories with my kids, and then it's like, okay, well, so why else? And you dig in a little bit deeper. And maybe that next why is, well, I want to lead better by example. I realize here that if I'm not playing with my kids, maybe they're spending too much time on the tablet or watching movies, or, not caring about their own health. And it's like, well, why is that important? Oh, well, back when I was a kid, I got picked on and made fun of for being overweight. I don't want that happens to my kids either. So you see that surface level of 15 pounds, there's a lot underneath the surface. And so when it comes to creating that 2.0 version of yourself, Mark, just like you said, brother, you got to identify the why. And that's actually why we made that transition and the new mindset worksheet with Heartletics, where it's two simple questions. What is your why? And then what is that 2.0 version of yourself? So that way you have that as a remembrance, especially during the hard times. Jimmy, you mind sharing a little bit about almost like your personal story as well? Because this is kind of similar to when we had our call.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, everybody's, when they are looking to sign up, it's because they want to lose weight. I don't know how many guys really understand what else is why they want to lose the weight, or until you really, really dive in and think about it. And I have many reasons. I thought, I want to be healthy. I want to, drop weight, look better. I want to be a better example for my kids. I want to have more energy. And I was, and going through this process and then into, mind training, the mindset stuff we do, I realized that my deep rooted why, I think on top of all those things, was when you're an obese person like I was, you're not, people don't realize it and it's not a thing, but you're not, I don't think people look at you with respect. At least you get that. If you do understand, I don't want to get too deep into it.
No, but pause. I completely understand, man. It's the same thing when somebody applies for coaching and they tell us, right? Like, I'm embarrassed to go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's not because they're embarrassed to go to the gym and they might say, I don't know what to do. It's mainly they're embarrassed to go to the gym because they don't want other people looking at them. So,
Exactly.
Dude, I get it. And thank you for sharing that, because that's hard to admit. But here's the thing, like, we're all guys here, right? This is the truth. And a lot of guys that's listening in, Jimmy, they can relate, brother.
Yeah. So, when you notice people look at you different and they might treat you at work, you might get treated different than other people and things like that. And I think a deep rooted why is I just want to prove to myself that I can do this. I failed so many times. So, self-sabotage, not thinking I can do it, self-limiting beliefs. And I just finally joining Heartletics, had hope, and I believed that I could do it. And I wanted that respect from people. I wanted people to look at me like, this guy, look what this guy accomplished. I respect that. And I think deep down, that is my deep rooted why. Because I wanted that respect from people. I didn't want people to look at me with pity or with disgust or, whatever it may be. I just didn't want that anymore, having it a big chunk of my life. And You know, I just needed to prove to myself that I was worthy, that I could do it. And, you know, rest is history, man. I think people look at me with a little more respect now.
I sure do, right? I think everybody does, man. I mean, you not only lost, what I mean, I don't want to steal the show. How much weight did you lose?
130 so far.
Yeah,
I
you
was
say you say like 130.
I was four
It's
I
nothing.
was 430 to begin with, but yeah, I'm down 130. But that's not even my biggest. I mean, of course, that's everything I wanted, but now I don't think that's my biggest accomplishment as far as during this journey.
Yeah.
It's so many things. Just my personality, being a better leader, a better father, a better person in general. I mean, I don't, it's just opened so many doors for me. Like I wouldn't be doing this podcast, talking like this. I was very backwards, and I'm still not the most outgoing social, but I'm working on it and getting a thousand times better. Like I would never have confidence to do this, to do my wrestling podcast, to go to wrestling shows and do, you know, fun things, silly things, and look like not like a fool, but you know, put yourself out there in front of people. So I would never have confidence to do
Hold
that.
on. You can't just say wrestling podcast and not give you and Kevin a shout out, bro. Tell everybody where to find it at.
Dollar Club Wrestling. You can
Dollar
find
Club.
it. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook.
Best shirts ever. Best shirts ever, by the way. I love them. But hold on. So pause, man. You said some things that I wrote down here, as you guys can see. I was taking down notes because Jimmy, I'm the same way, brother. Like, and every day I'm getting better and better, just like how every day you guys are getting better and better, just like how our clients are every day getting better and better. And it goes through the Heartletics, motto or mantra, right? 1% better each and every day in any kind of a way. So for you, you mentioned about failing so many times, right? Of trying this all on your own. And then eventually you found Heartletics. Let me ask you a question, right? Was it the meal plans that made you lose the 100, and 30 pounds?
No,
What was it? The workouts?
no,
Okay. And then let me ask you the last question, right? Was it all easy peasy, right? Was it very easy? Like, oh man, this is a breeze, just like showing up each and every day. Life never threw you curveballs, right?
no. You guys know that. No.
Well, you went through hell and back, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that's listening to today's podcast that can relate to that. So, guys, here's the thing: when it comes down to that deep-rooted why and why you got to peel back the layers, just like Coach Mark said, it's because life is going to throw you curveballs. Me and Mark just got off a conversation with our buddy Nixon, and life threw him a curveball, right? An injury. And so, what do you do when life throws you curveballs? Well, hey, you realize here that if it's all surface level, just trying to lose some weight, it's very easy to fall off track and go back to your old ways. But guess what? Right? When it's a deep rooted why, just like most people have that join our coaching program, we can tell them, hey, it's actually supposed to happen. Like, honestly, right? Like, you're supposed to be dealing with these curveballs, whether it's stress at home or at work, whether it's an injury, whether it's whatever the case may be. And you almost have to look at it as the glass being half full rather than glass being half empty. And I'm not trying to say like fake it till you make it, all positivity. No, but at the end of the day, like think about it. Nixon was injured, right? Or injured right now. We told him about focusing on the community group, focusing on the mindset, focusing on these other areas that he can be improving on. So that way, after the injury, he's even better because he's been focusing on his weaknesses despite right not being able to train and work out. So it's one of those things where, even though life's throwing you curveballs, you almost have to roll with the punches. Mark, you have some good success stories also with some of the clients as well, right? Dealing with kind of like creating that 2.0 you and dealing with, that progression, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Gabe is a great example. Gabe, obviously came to us, looking to, like most of the guys, the initial kind of, journey is about fat loss and, physical change. But he kind of realized that that was only a small portion of what we were, offering and what was, going to change his life. It's kind of like we always say, that the guys who, show up, put in the work, the meal plans, the the workouts, they're going to see the results.
Yeah.
But the guys who really realize that it's about so much more than that are the ones who change their entire lives.
Yeah.
And Gabe, I think, is a perfect example of that, because when you talk to Gabe now, he sounds like a completely different person
For sure.
than the Gabe that we started talking to, when he signed up. And, even like, just on a career front for Gabe, when he tells you, like, he's just elevated in terms of respect in his field, because he's got this confidence that he exudes now. And he'll describe the way he enters a room, and his impact is completely different than it was pre Heartletics. And that's because he found that 2.0 version of himself. He knew his whys. He knew that he wanted to do things for his family, for his career, for his life. And he dug deep, found those, and really kind of, evolved not just his physical self, which has had some amazing success as well, but he's become a much more confident, much more of a leader. I mean, he's becoming like, someone who people, look up to in his field, look up to in terms of his, family model, not to mention, he's had some success with his wife as well.
Can I share that?
Oh, go for it.
So for anybody out here that's having a hard time getting it hard, hey, so let's just say, like, right? You don't need Viagra, you don't need Cialis or anything like that. Just sign up for Heartletics, right? We will instantly boost that testosterone by helping you burn more body fat and building more confidence. Gabe got three, like when I think of Gabe, I think of three things. Obviously, sharing inside the community group about like improving his sex life with just the confidence, the stamina, right? The endurance. But not only that, afterwards, right? I think a week later, he posted that big pile of clothes, right? And he just said, man, this is insane. Like, I joined this coaching program to lose some weight. And, I realized here I got to, throw in some more money, just buy all this new clothes. Anymore. So that's a pro and a con, I guess. But then also the last
hidden cost, right?
but then afterwards, right? The third thing was, think about it. We just did this amazing podcast on Friday, which, guys, Thanksgiving's approaching. The holidays are coming up. We literally did a whole podcast presentation, PowerPoint, going over a step-by-step approach on how to eat during the holidays, eat the foods that you want to eat, and not gain fat, not put on weight. So if you guys are interested in that, go check it out. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I'll have it at the end here so you can easily click on it. But Gabe talked, right? And remember, before we even recorded the podcast, he mentioned how nervous he was. Jimmy, you mentioned how nervous you were, right, about getting on this podcast, right? And you said about your own podcast and how, hey, you're still not, 100% there, but you're getting better, way better than when you were, right? And I want everybody to know it's all about that progression, right? Like, everybody has a goal to do something, achieve something, and realize it's not going to happen overnight, but just day by day, that 1% better, that step in the right direction, it's going to lead you to where eventually you look back and be like, holy cow, I'm a completely different person. And so, Gabe, if you're watching this later, listening to this, shout out to you, brother, because you're inspiring a lot of people, not just the coaches, but also your family, your friends, your employees at work, and also, the community here, the Wolfpack at Heartletics. Actually, Jimmy, you want to share somebody else?
Yeah, I do. I want to talk about Bill.
Yeah.
I love Bill, man.
Who doesn't love Bill?
I love Bill.
But the reason why I want to talk about Bill is because I feel like Bill embodies what Heartletics is, what our mission is, like why we do this, why we're so passionate about it. Because you get to see with your eyes the transformation people make, and not just their bodies, but just their personality, everything, their mind. It's just awesome. I love it. But Bill, I remember talking to him before he had his call with you to sign up. And I remember him saying, I do not like working out. I'm not going to work out. I hate it. I despise it. And many other words to say what he felt about working out. But I figure I'll see what just got, he's a friend of your mother-in-law.
Yeah, he calls me Killer because back when I used to do MMA and boxing, everybody called me and my brother Killer. We were the Callari Killers. And so, like, we've known each other for years, And when he applied for coaching, I'm happy that he did it now because Jimmy, you're on the team. Mark, you're on the team. We got Brian. We got all the other coaches. And obviously, we got the Wolf Pack. We got the community group. So I feel like it was all meant to be. Go ahead, Jimmy.
But yeah, anyway, but he signed up and said, well, let me see what, I figured I'd see what he's been bugging me for years. I'll see what this is about. But going into it, he had no intentions of ever working out, or he just wanted to get a little healthier, build some healthy habits, and, change some things.
Yeah.
But what happened when he started? He went from hating to work out, and you could literally see it week by week, his progression, coming on the Zoom chats, talking, being involved in the community group, more and more and more. And then come down to it a week, or I don't know how long into it, but he started by doing walking a little more. Then he started doing few push-ups a day. I think he probably started where he couldn't do a push-up. Now he can do, just see the progression.
He mentioned that in the community group, or I think in the weekly Zoom chat. He said, guys, I don't know what happened. I could barely do. I think he said that back when he was in the Army was the last time he ever did push-ups. And so when he got started, he's like, man, I tried 5 push-ups on my knees and it was very discouraging. Right. And I remember he said that on the Zoom chat, and I believe it was either Mark or somebody else said, yeah, but how many did you do yesterday? And he said 0. And it's just like that aha moment, right? Where it's like, oh, shoot, that's right. Continue.
Yeah, so you could just see it, and then a little more would get added, and a little more, and he'd talk more and be involved more. And in the community group, you saw him, when somebody reached out for help, he would be one of the guys there to help, giving words of inspiration, sharing his wins. And just the progression from somebody who said, I hate working out, I'm not going to do it, I just don't want to do it, to now he's actually got workouts scheduled in his daily goals. I mean, that it's just amazing to me. And it's not just because of the workout, it's just the transformation of the person and just the attitude of positivity and gratitude. And I don't know, it's just awesome to watch. I love it, and he's not the only, he's just his story embodies like what we're trying to accomplish. Mark's another guy who never worked out in his life. Now he's like freaking G.I. Joe or something. He wants to go to Navy SEAL training now, probably.
Mark intimidates me now on the Flex Friday photos. I see his abs. But
Yeah, right.
here's back to Bill real quick, right? Let's actually talk about that. Bill never posted ever before on a Flex Friday photo, right? If you guys remember that.
Yeah, that's another thing.
It wasn't until a few weeks ago. Hey, first time he was literally, it was, I think he posted 3, maybe 4 times. The first time he's wearing a hoodie, and he said, oh, maybe you guys can see, something going on. And he's wearing a hoodie, right? So we can't see anything, right? And then the next week he's wearing a regular t-shirt. Well, what just happened this Friday? No shirt at all. My buddy Bill, right? Flex inside the community group. It's the same thing with Chris. You had your qualification called Chris, right?
Yeah.
And what happened?
He said he's not a community guy.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not a community guy. I don't need that. I just want work out. I said, all right, man, but I'm telling you, to get the most success, you get involved with the community group. It's awesome, the support. And what do you know? Little by little, he's infiltrated into the community. You can't.
We see that all the time because guys don't realize what the community group is at first. So that they're just picturing like a generic Facebook experience or what, and then they realize how tight knit our group is and how supportive and loving. And they're like, I got to get in on this,
I tell people all the time, it's like my second family, honestly, like
for sure.
100%.
It's like, back to Chris real quick, right? Prime example, just like Bill, right? You see from start to finish where guys sign up to lose weight, surface level, right? And then they start embracing themselves, because we always tell everybody, hey, you can join this program for the meal plans and workouts. Sure, you're going to lose 20, 30 pounds, 50 pounds. Awesome, right? We don't care about that. We honestly don't, right? Because at the end of the day, we want the guys to come in with a life-changing transformation. And you realize this, that when you start engaging in the community groups, joining some of the weekly Zoom chats, you start seeing guys no different from you at all. So what does that mean? Well, hey, it's that comfortable, right? I feel comfortable doing this, right? I feel that support, but also it's just like, man, you get to see from start to finish how this program has changed somebody else's life. Well, hey, maybe I do want to, step up a little bit. And Chris, just like Bill, it's hard to keep these guys with a shirt on now. Like every Friday, Chris is flexing without a shirt, man. It's inspiring to see, and other guys see that and like, man, from start to
Great.
finish, like it's night and day,
Yeah, I think another part of it, I mentioned this before, is a lot of guys, when you get life takes over, you lose track of, any kind of like, I mean, you stay in touch with some buddies, but you lose track of that, if you were ever on a sports team, the
Yeah.
locker room thing.
Yeah.
And Heartletics embodies that, man. I mean, it's something a lot of guys are missing. I know something I was missing. It's just like, we're like buddies on here talking, you know what I mean? We're not working. We're shooting the crap.
Right.
And we get on the Zoom chats, and that's the same thing. We shoot the crap. I mean, we give a little value to help people out, but we're shooting the crap.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it becomes a family, and you just become comfortable, and you want it to be held. You feel accountable to these people. You don't, it's like your family. So it's just, once you open your mind and you dive in, man, it's so life-changing. It's awesome.
It's the wolf pack, brother.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. We're ride or die. It's like when someone so for example, after this podcast, I'm going to I'm going to Panera Bread first, and then go right to my buddy's house, bring him some lunch. He's sick. He's under the weather. And it's just like, I always put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like, what if that was me? Right. It's just like, it's the little things that add up. And remember, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And we're going to talk about that here on another podcast here shortly with you guys. But it's like what you said, man. We're not really working. We're providing value. And most importantly, we're kind of shooting a little bit of crap, right? We're just busting each other's balls. Unless you're Mike Berry. Mike, you know exactly why. Because if me and you ever played basketball, I'm breaking your ankles. I don't care if me and the team has helped you get off your medications and reverse your type 2 diabetes. That's all great and fun and dandy. But when you play me in basketball, brother, it's all serious. So let's do this. Let's wrap things up, right? For the listeners out there, okay? If you're in the community group or part of our coaching program, right? Here's the thing, right? Engage in the community groups, right? It's only getting better. And here's the thing too. I want to just give a shout out to myself, right? I want to be a little selfish here. Like, when somebody says something and voices their opinion, like August, for example, he just got signed up. He's like, dude, this community group's way too much. Like, it's just so much back and forth. I feel lost in the sauce. I hear that. I voiced my opinion to trainerize. We worked some stuff out. And what did we do? We created a whole new group separating everything. And now it's easier, right? And so it's just like, I want everybody to understand that like myself, Mark, Jimmy, Brian, everybody, like, yes, we're coaches, but at the same time, like, your feedback matters. So if you're a member, like, tell us the good, the bad, and especially the ugly, because that's how things change. And at the end of the day, like, we're a wolf pack. We want to make things easier for you as well as easier for everybody. So if there's any recommendations, let us know, Now, if you are somebody that's sitting on the fence and listening to this right now, and you're like, okay, creating the best version of myself, that 2.0, you talked a lot about the clients, you talked a lot about yourself. What are some action steps? Well, one, going back to what Mark said, you got to find that why. 7-layer dip. Dig deep, brother. Like, figure out what it is. Because here's the thing. When you truly have a why, it's going to hold yourself accountable during the hard times. It's called discipline, right? If I want to lose 10 pounds and it's snowing outside and my bed is nice and warm, hey, I might be sleeping in, right? I'm not going to get out of bed. But if I know for a fact I want to have more energy to play with my kids, I want to make sure that they're more active and I'm being that leader that I should be as a father figure, hey, guess what? I'm going to get out of bed whether I feel like it or not. So you got to do some soul searching a little bit and figure out that why, right? Before you can even get to that 2.0 of your actual goals. So that's the first step. The second step is understand it's going to be hard, right? You have to understand that. And remember, it's looking at the glass being half full rather than half empty. There's always going to be opportunities in the midst of the darkness. You just got to look for it, right? It's always about having that little light at the end of the tunnel. And realize this, when life throws you a curveball, it's a great sign that you're progressing, It's just that life is trying to test you to see how bad you actually want it. And the last tip I would say, and this mainly goes for our community group members, is utilize the groups. Now, if you're somebody that's sitting on the fence listening to this hey, maybe that's your friend, right? Maybe that's your coworkers, whoever, right? Jimmy, you mentioned about back in the day playing sports. You had this team camaraderie and just all these guys getting together. You got to find that. Even as guys, like I can't go to my wife about certain things. Like I got to go to a man about it. I got to go to a guy that's going to understand like some of the struggles that I go through, right? And it's having that teamwork, right? And so when you have people in your corner, we like to say the wolf pack, you're setting yourself up for success because now you're not holding on to all those emotions, right? In the midst of all the darkness, all by yourself, because that's usually when guys fall. It's just like what we always say, guys that's all on the island all by themselves, they're never going to really get anywhere. You got to be open-minded. And side note, as we put a little close to this podcast, open-mindedness is hands down, in my opinion, the manliest thing that you can do as a man. Because I'll say it like this. I am not the best at chess, right, at all. And I'm very open-minded to learn, right? And there's a lot of guys that kick my butt that I'm starting to learn playing chess. Hashtag Mark. But with that being said, hey, am I going to give up just because I'm getting my butt kicked? Absolutely not. It's the same thing when starting jujitsu. Like, hey, like don't be afraid to roll with the guys that are the black belts. It's the fast track to learning, right? So understand like the hard times, yeah, they're going to be there for a while, but they're not there to last for a lifetime. And it's that optimistic viewpoint that you got to have. And tomorrow I'm going to talk a little bit more about chess and how relating like the hardships of learning something new and being open-minded and being just that like, man, I don't know anything here. It's actually the sign to progress to where you want to get to. And the similarities that I'm noticing between chess and life, it's going hand in hand. Mark, Jimmy, you guys want to say anything before we wrap things up?
Just to kind of tie what you were saying together and in a nice bow, you mentioned like having input and implementing that to make Heartletics better. The 2.0 version of yourself is kind of a never-ending process. The same way you're always making Heartletics better, you always want to be making yourself better, because if you're not continually growing and learning, what's the point? So this is an ongoing process that you always want to pursue.
Facts. Jimmy, what do you want to tell everybody that's listening to this outside saying, you know what? These guys are actually pretty cool. I want to be in this wolf pack. What do you got to tell them?
Well, who wouldn't want to be in this wolf pack? I mean, come on. And what do we always say? Or what do you always say? Birds of a feather
Flock together.
You gotta.
Yep.
I mean, you're coming into the group of people, a wolf pack of people that are just very positive and very, there's no toxicity here. It's all positive. So you want that in your life. You need that in your life. Get the toxicity out. And one thing I did want to mention that I always want to mention, but I forget. If you're on the fence and you're thinking, the holidays are coming up, I'll wait till after. I mean, don't do that. Do it now. I did it through my bulk of my 12 weeks was through the holidays. I lost 75 pounds. Mark, we did it the same time.
Yeah, you were about the same time.
Mark lost, what was your
37 pounds in the initial 12 weeks, yeah.
So, I mean, don't let that stop you. It's just an excuse. Do it now, and come join our pack.
Facts.
If you can qualify.
Yeah, I'll say this, I like that shirt, Mark. If you're not open-minded and you think you know it all, we're probably not the right coaching program for you. But here's the flip side. If you are open-minded and you're like, hey, I realize here that I just want to be better in life, physically, mentally, emotionally stronger and lead better by example, not just for my friends and, my coworkers, but most importantly, my family, and make the world a better place that we're kind of living in. And yeah, we're all ears. Apply for a free coaching call. You'll speak with either, Jimmy, Mark, or myself, and just see if it's a good fit. What do you got to lose? At the end of the day, you're going to get a personal video sent over to me, sharing with you guys like how to actually get the results you're looking for. And then you can talk to somebody also to just figure out, once again, more value. I'll say it like this too. There's so much value that you can get from Heartletics between the free fat loss guide, the free coaching video, the podcast that we do. Realistically, everybody should learn how to lose weight from all the free content. We only want the guys that's honestly in it to become better leaders, if that makes sense. And hey, if that's you, go to heartletics.com and see if we can help you out. With that being said, this has been Coach Joe, Coach Mark, Coach Jimmy with the Heartletics podcast. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.